Let's get down to the starting line, and I'll tell you what's on tonight's show. A 1974 Bultaco Persang 250. We've got a 1974 YZ 250 in the Moto Showcase. Jeff Kokoski is back with Snell helmets. Roy with sprocket locks. We got some incredible giveaways and much, much more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A.
I'm Jerry Maddox.
And I'm Ryder Maddox in sunny California.
And you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, hosted by Joe Abbate.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Abbate, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. If you are enjoying the show, and I'm sure you will, be sure to share it on Facebook. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Susie, are you with me?
I'm right here.
What's happening tonight?
It's all good.
It's all good. What are you giving away?
I have a Joe Abbate poster.
Oh, yeah. Here it is right here.
Yeah.
Yep. What else?
And I have a mud scraper, you know, that old mud scraper courtesy of Motion Pro.
Yep.
And a tricky water bottle.
Okay.
So I think that's for what's it worth. So that's it.
And maybe some other things along the way. Susie,
Maybe.
Thanks for being here and all you do. Let's get down to the Moto Showcase, which is brought to you by Preston Petty Products. Be sure to visit them online at PrestonPettyProducts.com. And don't forget their new IT and Kawasaki green and blue fenders. Okay, tonight we're going to take a look at a YZ250. I'm going to read to you a little bit about what Tom White wrote about this bike in Motocross Action. The DT1 Enduro, introduced in 1968, was neither a very good street bike nor a very good enduro bike, yet it was the perfect motorcycle for its time. The factory kit, when installed, the power had gone from 21 to 30 horsepower. And thanks to the low price, the DT1 was the entree for dirt bikes coming from the Yamaha factory. Buoyed by the DT1 success, Yamaha started dual development projects. The first one was with, of course, the Jones gang. Don Jones and Gary Jones were, of course, the riders. And they had a hacked up frame. They put a reed valve on it. There was a lot to do as far as development on that bike, and they did it, and Gary went out and won 2 championships on it. Now, the bike you're looking at right here is something that I restored for a gentleman named Jerry Kent. We did restore this bike a few years ago, and here's what it started out when we first got it. It had laid outsider in a barn for quite some time, but we took it all apart, redid all the hardware. This airbox I'm very proud of. We took everything apart, plated everything, put in new rivets. We used the correct opaque number plate as well. There's a good shot of that famous strap. The bolts are all dished, and they're all correct as well. The finishes on the bike as far as flat paint and satin finish, as you can see, are all correct as well. I want to thank Russell Waters and Amsoil for being so good to us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A, and that is tonight's Moto Showcase bike, the YZ250. Thank you, Jerry Kent, for having us restore that bike for you too. And I know you've turned over that collection several times over the years, and you've always held on to that bike, and that kind of makes me feel good. Don't forget, if you want to be a Vintage Motocross Q&A supporter, you can get a shirt just like one of these, whether it's the Kurt Evans design or the classic Vintage Motocross Q&A. You'll get your name up on the board for 90 days, and you will get a poster, compliments of Mike McCook and Motorcyclist Illustrated. That is for just $49.95. We accept PayPal, Venmo, and Zelle. And a little bit later on in the show, we'll have those QR codes up for you, so you'll be able to see that, and you'll be able to pay. Here's the problem. It's brought to you by Gordon McCaffer and McCaffer Vintage Bike Stands. We got the first question that I ran across, and it was from Paul Bradley. He says he has some issues with his 85 Honda CR250. He's been replacing the headstock bearings and found that the threads are badly worn where the castellated bearing adjust ring screws on. I only have a few usable threads left on to adjust them. Looks like the top yoke has rubbed on them. Looking at the second-hand bottom yoke, and that he was looking at a secondhand bottom yoke, and he realized that this problem may be common. How can I get it fixed I don't see any way to replace it, and the stems aren't listed anywhere. Well, let's get a closer look. First of all, here, let's look at this picture where you've been looking at it. That is the top of the stem that goes to the triple clamps. Now, on the bottom of that bike, it is pressed in, and I'm sure it is quite an interference fit. So pressing it out, can it be done? Yes. But if you don't have a new one or a correct one, that may not be the route to go. Now, I jumped over to eBay for a minute, and I saw this. Here's a guy that's got one for an astronomical price, but that's not really the question right now. If you look at the threads in the middle, they don't look any better than the one in the first picture, do they? Look at this. And look at this. So I went on to look a little bit further to see if maybe, well, I just caught two bad ones out of the bunch. Now, I saw this picture and the threads don't look so good either. And the man or whoever it is that is selling this set, I think he's kind of disguising thing there as well. Now, what I would recommend, and I'm not a metallurgist, I'm not a welder, you might want to consider having someone turn down that old thread, getting a sleeve, and welding a new one on and rethreading it. It could be a very, very costly experience, but I would recommend that. But I don't know, turning down what's probably a hardened piece of steel, you have to harden it again. Is there some liability issue? I don't really know. I would imagine that Honda throughout that period must have had other bikes that had a similar stem. With the part number, you may be able to find what you're looking for. If not, I mean, there is such thing as spray welding, where you're going to weld over that whole thing. You're going to have a machinist turn it down. I don't know if your machinist will then have the proper taps that size. They're probably going to be very, very expensive. But I would look into a little further research on a stem that is that cross fits both. You know, the 84, maybe the 84 does, maybe the 86 does. I don't know for sure. Look up the part number, and then I think you'll be able to get a better idea of what you're dealing with before what I think is going to be a rather expensive and time-consuming process, okay? But I want to give the best advice I can, and I want to make sure that you get something that's safe, okay? We're going to take a short break. We will be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
I'm Pat Maroney, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and we'll be right back.
Of course, McCaffer work stands are available from Gordon McCaffer at the number listed on the screen. I've got a couple of them. In fact, I know a lot of people that have these for well over 15, 20, 25 years, and they're very reliable and very well built. Thank you, Gordon McCaffer, for being a supporter of Vintage Motocross Q&A. This is usually where we have trivia, but we've taken a little break from that for a few weeks. Regardless, I want to thank Mike McCook for the wonderful posters that he donated to the show, the Stefano posters, and we're going to get back to those in a couple of weeks. But right now, I want to thank Dave Boydston and Bill Ramsey for giving us some really, really great posters that are kind of rare these days. And last week, we gave away this Bob Hanna poster. Tonight, we're going to be giving away this Joe Abbate poster, the 72 Suzuki, the RH72, and we're going to be giving that away a little bit later on in the show. Susie's handling that, and it will be for a viewer appreciation prize, okay? No trivia. Susie's going to pick a person. She's got a list of people that have already won, but look, I'm not in control of that portion of the show. Susie is, so she'll be picking out someone a little bit later on in the show.
I won't be picking on. I will picking.
She will be picking, not picking on anyone. Well, she does pick on.
I pick on you.
She picks on me sometimes. So. Anyway, Dave's Classic Corner is brought to you by Dave Boydston and AMS, amsracing.com. Be sure to follow Dave Boydston on Facebook, and you'll see some pretty interesting things that Dave has going on in his life, from flea markets to trips to some severe weather reports at times. In the meantime, we are up to the, I'm sorry, what's that? Oh, the What's It Worth segment. Yeah. But no, we got to get to Dave's video this week. Okay. We've got to get to Dave's video, and we'll get to that right now. Here he is, the Dave Boydston video. And then we'll get on to the What's It Worth segment.
Dave Boydston from AMS Racing, Phoenix, Arizona. This weekend I was lucky enough to go to the Mecum auction, and I was even luckier to have this thing come across the block. And I swore I wouldn't buy a bike, but my gosh. Close examination. This is not a restored bike in any way. If you know your bull tacos, this is the very first model of a 250 they ever made. The center port cylinder was actually made by Don Rickman because they were running a 200 with a side port in the British Scrambles, and he needed more power. So rather than cast it with the port out the side like all the others, they put the port in the center, which allowed them to put it in their Rickman frame. And that's what Bultaco, once Bultaco put the first order in for the bikes, Rickman told them that we hadn't made this many in 2 years. So we can't make the frames for you. So only some 20 real Rickmans, nickel-plated with non-folding pegs. They had British Hub Company rear hub, Girling shocks. This one has Baders. This one doesn't have a chrome rim. The first 1,000 of these had a chrome rim. They came with an knobby on the back and the Trials tire on the front. There's a TT model and a motocross, well, a TT and a Scrambles model. So one has the barbecue kind of radial sun-finned head. That's the motocrosser, and the other one has the straight fin. That's this one. Found out through the parts book that this one runs the TSS road race sleeve in it with about 1.5 more compression with that straight fin head than the other head. Both have the same size carburetor. This bike has a different shaped exhaust. If you see the way this cover steps down right here, this is the shape the last cone in the motocross is. But the TT pipe is much longer. The other one stops about right here. TT pipe is long. That little hole is correct on both models. I guess maybe to hole on some muffler, but I don't know why. Because at that time, no mufflers were going to be required for another 5 years or so. That seat is original. I just did some cleaner on it. There you go. This is all gel coat, so this is the original finish. When do you find a bike from 1965 or 66 in this shape? I can't believe nobody outbidded us on this bike. I couldn't believe it. Apparently, they think all Bultacos need to be red and everything's polished and everything. But what an example of a correct bike. Has great compression and spark. This bike's been parked for a long time. Happy to have it. It's a Model 11, the 11th different bike that Bultaco had produced. Crazy. There you go. Bye-bye.
Dave Boydston with some great information on that Bultaco. And congratulations, Dave, for going out there and spending the money to get it. It certainly was a value. I was watching that, and it was a great value. Let's move on to the What's It Worth segment. The What's It Worth segment is brought to you by Full Circle Racing. Be sure to visit FullCircleRacingLimited.com online. And thank you, Tom McAllister, for your years of support here for Vintage Motocross Q&A. 1974 Bultaco. This is the portion of the show where you, the viewers at home, are encouraged to guess how much this bike recently sold for. Okay, when you do that, Susie's going to have some stickers, or she's going to have something special for you when that time rolls around. So let's go to the videotape. The 74 Bultaco Persang 250 MK7 spent time in Colorado before being acquired by the seller on Bring a Trailer in January of 2025. The subsequent service is said to have been involved installing a 36mm Mikuni carburetor and a side pull throttle with a Magura cable, as well as fitting air-cooled 244cc two-stroke single with a replacement flywheel, stator ignition coil, crankshaft bearings, felt washers, O-rings, gaskets, and seals. Finished in blue and white, the motorcycle is further equipped with a Kickstarter and black finished exhaust. The bike also features telescopic forks, aftermarket NJB rear shocks, drum brakes, a silver half duplex frame, as well as a black saddle, cross-braced handlebar, folding foot pegs, and white number plates. The Model 120% is offered at no reserve in Colorado for off-road use only, with a service manual, a bike stand, and all the receipts for 2025 for all the parts that were purchased, various spares, and of course the bill of sale. Acrobat rims, front and rear, 18 and 21 inch. It does have brake drums, and it has new Cheng Shin knobby tires. Suspension consists, as we mentioned, of the telescopic fork, and the seller notes that the front and rear brakes have been serviced. The pads were changed. I'm hoping that means that the drums themselves maybe were cut or resurfaced. Okay, there's the receipt for all the parts that were purchased, and it looks like a lot of time went into that bike, no question about that. So what do we have as far as the price goes? 7,000, 6,000, 8,500. Well, you guys got deep pockets. 9,000. This bike actually sold for $7,500 plus 10%, putting another $700 on top of that. What is that? $8,250. Let's call it $8,200. Let's call it $8,300 to get some people in the mix. I'm going to check the
Tyler McGregor,
Tyler McGregor at how much?
81.
81.
Yeah.
I'm going to check real quick. You say Tyler McGregor at 81. I don't see any other. Now, I don't see any other prices in there, but if you say Tyler McGregor at 81, well, then it's Tyler McGregor at 8,100. Tyler, get me your address, and I will. Susie will send you some stickers. I don't know what she has over there. Sue, what are you giving away for this? Here, let me put you on there for a second.
Tyler? I think he's got everything I give away. Tyler, what? You have everything. You probably don't have a mud scraper. I think, didn't I give you a mud scraper?
Well, Tyler McGregor, you were the closest without going over. So if you get us your address or you send me a message and tell me what you would like to have, your friend Susie will get it for you. Okay? All right. Tyler McGregor. And you know what? I'm going to check back at the comment section from time to time and see if someone else came close to. And if we have to give away a couple of things, we shall do that. All right? We are going to take a commercial break. We're going to hear from Full Circle Racing. We'll be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
I'm Ron Lachine, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
I get asked often, what's the most important thing on Clunker? Answer simple, it's me. That's why I use Full Circle Racing wheels prepped by Tom McAllister. So should you. Watch this and learn why. When racing vintage motocross where suspension is very limited, your wheels can be the difference between winning or serious injury. We chose to run Full Circle Racing wheels because of the super high quality materials and the heavy duty spokes used. Prepped by Tom McAllister, I have the confidence on the track to push way harder through the rough stuff and the bigger jumps, knowing my wheels are going to stay under me. Hey, Clunker may be 50 years old, but his wheels are brand new, and yours should be too. Call Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing today.
Thank you, Jerry Maddox, for that commercial and for all you do for us here at the show. I'm looking for you to get back out on the road again and bring us some of those great videos. In the meantime, I have to once again thank Russell Waters. Russell Waters gives us a lot of products here at the show, and we love all of them, and we use them daily. So go over to AMSOIL and get yourself some products. And if you want 25% off, go to www.oilpeople.shopamsoil.com. That's www.theoilpeople.shopamsoil.com. All right. Did you know Jeff Kokoski, one of the favorite segments of the show for a lot of people? This week, Jeff checks in with us. We're going to be talking about Snell helmets. Okay. Take a look at the back of one of your racing helmets. It should at least contain a U.S. Department of Transportation, a DOT sticker, signifying that It has met certain minimal government standards, but it also has a Snell sticker. It means additional stricter safety requirements. But did you know how Snell helmet became what they are today? On August 19th of 1956, at a Sports Car Club of America road race course set up in Arcata Airport, a few hours north of San Francisco, 41-year-old William Snell, better known as Pete to his buddies, crashed his Triumph TR3 race car. Snell was dicing with two Porsches on the road course when one of them bumped the rear wheel of Snell's car, causing him to lose control, then tangle with a hay bale and flip over multiple times. Although he was wearing his helmet, the helmet shattered, and Pete Snell died of head trauma an hour later at a local hospital. Snell was born in Reno, Nevada area. He joined the Army a year before Pearl Harbor and fought in South Pacific Theater during World War II. After the war, he moved to San Francisco, where he worked for a Pacific elevator company, but within a few years took an interest in selling and then racing English-made automobiles. He was well liked. He was respected by his fellow drivers and mechanics in the racing world. And in 1954, Snell was awarded the Sportsman Trophy at the Golden Gate Park sports car races in San Francisco. After that fateful day in 56, one of Snell's fellow drivers and track physician, Dr. George Snively, required or recognized the need for universal helmet standards and began to research programs into better head protection for racers. In 1957, the research, along with help from friends, scientists, and other physicians, created the Snell Memorial Foundation. Their mission was to promote research and education, as well as test and develop standards to improve the effectiveness of helmets. By 1959, Snell Foundation published their first helmet standard. In fact, it was the first helmet standard in the United States. By 1974, the U.S. DOT, with input from ANSI and ASTM standards, created the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard number 218, which set minimum safety standards and testing requirements for all helmets sold in the United States. The current DOT regulation dictates that properties required for helmet protection of the rider in a crash, including energy absorption, penetration resistance, and retention system strength. These are considered mandatory minimum standards that manufacturers of helmets sold in the U.S. are required to meet. If you buy a helmet in the U.S. today, it should at least contain a DOT sticker. Otherwise, it is considered a novelty helmet. Conversely, the Snell standards and voluntary but significantly surpassed the DOT number 218 requirements. The Snell standard is often regarded as the gold standard for racing because it focuses on high velocity impacts and includes specialized testing for stability and shell rigidity. Technicians also evaluate chin bar rigidity, positional and rotation stability, shell and face shield penetration resistance, and emergency removability. Snell approved helmets not only bear the organization's stamp of approval, but also contain a branded sticker and barcode on the inside. Very interesting, Jeff. Snell approved helmets, of course, have that stamp, but customers can refer to the customer's website for a list of all Snell certified helmet models. The foundation feels that the tests that they perform more closely mimic potential crash scenarios. Research shows that a higher severity test, the DOT-only helmets, transmitted much greater shocks to the rider's head than a Snell-certified helmet. One complaint that some riders have regarding Snell-certified helmets is that they generally weigh slightly more than non-Snell-certified helmets. The reason for this is that the Snell-rated helmet generally require thicker materials necessary to pass the Snell test. However, with lighter weight and products like Kevlar or now carbon fiber is readily available, helmet manufacturers can address the weight issue and it will still meet Snell certification. Because the world has gotten smaller in regards to global marketing and sales, there's another safety standard that you may run across when buying a new helmet called the ECE for Economic Commission of Europe. Their standard, either 2205 or 2206, establishes safety standards for helmets distributed in Europe, much like US DOT regulations. The ECE standards are mandatory for manufacturers wanting to sell helmets in Europe, and some European countries have their own specification requirements beyond the general ECC standard. Note that all Snell helmets pass that standard set for by the DOT and ECE, but not all DOT and ECE can pass the Snell certification process. Almost 70 years after its founding, the Snell Memorial Foundation remains the leading factor in the testing, certification, and improvement of headgear, not only in motorsports, but in many other fields, including biking, equestrian, and skiing that require helmets to protect the users. Jeff Kokoski, really, really great information, and on perhaps, no question, the most important safety gear that we have. Yes, you have your boots, your goggles, your gloves, and whatnot, but the helmet, well, you got to have that, right? So, Jeff Kokoski, thanks. And now we do know. All right, let's take a short break, and we'll be back with Ever Heard Of and a whole lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A.
I'm Gary Semix, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A with Joe Abbate.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
Be sure to visit the International Motocross Museum website at internationalmotocrossmuseum.org or check out some of the new videos that Terry Good has put up on the International Motocross Museum YouTube page. Okay? Susie, did you ask me if I was here?
Yeah, you were silent for a moment.
Sometimes I get silent.
Never.
Have you ever heard of a RUP? I'm sure you have, but I didn't really know the history of RUP till I started to check it out today. And it certainly is a very, very interesting history of what many of us, well, for many of us, it was our first, the first mini bike we ever had. And it was probably about the most popular mini bike at the time. Or if you had one of those little Sears bikes or whatever else Dad may have brought home, you always wanted a RUP, right? So let's take a look at the RUP and I'll read to you the history. Like many childhood glory days of the 60s and 70s, they were spent aboard Rupp mini bikes. In 59, Mickey Rupp founded the Rupp Manufacturing Company in Mansfield, Ohio, where he had 8 employees and they built dart carts. The next year, he expanded into mini bikes, producing 1,000 in 1960. At the company's height, it was manufacturing 75,000 bikes a year. Rupp mini bike models included TS 500, the Roadster, Scrambler, Black Widow, Enduro, Chopper, and a 3-wheeler that Elvis Presley actually owned. The first Rupp mini bikes came around in 1962. They featured a 2.5 horsepower, 4-cycle Lawson horizontal shaft engine. In 63, Rupp mini bikes offered the Dart Ridge Runner, classified as a trail scooter. It featured a 3.5 horsepower Lawson engine. 64 through 67, for the first time in 64, Rupp outfitted the bikes with a headlight and a taillight. And they also featured a chrome chain guard as well and chrome fenders. These were added features on a bike called the Continental. Recognizing the need for a larger model bike, Rupp began producing and selling dirt bikes in 72. Many models were produced, including the RM, SX, and the RMX, many of them using the 2-cycle Fuji 80cc engine with a 4-speed manual transmission. They went on to make the RMX 100, and the RMX was the first machine powered by a Sachs engine. Sadly, Rupp was forced to sell controlling interest in his business in 1973. 5 years later, there was no saving the Rupp company. And in 1978, the last models of Rupp came down the finish line. I think we all owe a huge debt of gratitude to Mickey Rupp. He, of course, was the first guy to bring all that to America, and many of us got our start on that bike. So, Mickey Rupp, hats off to you. We are going to move on to the announcements unless Susie wants to do something with the Viewer Appreciation Prize.
I'm ready.
Are you ready to do that?
I am.
All right, Sue, what do you got?
I have Brian Pollan. You are the winner this evening of the Viewer Appreciation Prize.
And the Viewer Appreciation Prize is this amazing poster, brand new, compliments of Bill Ramsey. Thank you, Bill Ramsey, and thank you for Dave Boysen for putting that together for us. Brian Pollan, did you say, honey? P-O-U-L-A-N?
P-O-L-E-N, Pollan.
Brian Pollan,
So
you are tonight's winner
Yeah.
of that beautiful poster. Congratulations, okay? Moving on, we are going to the announcements. The announcements are brought to you by the International Motocross Museum. I was on the phone with Jeff Conboy the other day, and we're going to be doing an interview with Jeff coming up in the very, very near future, in the next few weeks, probably. He's got that classic Bultaco motocross book out there. There's only 9 left. 9. And he does have 2 or 3 of the Pomeroy edition. Now, we'll talk more about the Pomeroy edition when we get Jeff here. But they're going to be, look, the regular book is $79. We talked about the price, $195 for the Pomeroy edition, but there's only 4 left. Okay, you can contact Jeff Conboy on Facebook, or if you get a hold of me, I will give him your number. We sold a few books last week. They're going to be going quick, guys. Only 4 Pomeroy books left and about 7 or 8 of the classic Bultaco book. Essentially both the same thing, but one has the some things from Jim Pomeroy in it, including an autographed picture. So you want to get a hold of Jeff Conboy and get yourself that book, and we'll have Jeff Conboy on the show. Twilight of the Gods, that is available on Amazon. Okay. And also, we're going to have another interview coming up with the author of this book here. It is about Hangtown, and we're going to have that coming up, as well as Mark LaRue. All right, he'll be on talking about the Hangtown book, and we're going to get the Mako guy on here too. New book that came out with Mako. In the meantime, we've got some events coming up. Sunday, May 31st, the Scott Berner Carlsbad MX reunion. That'll be a nice celebration down there. There's always a wonderful bike show, and a lot of great guys usually show up. That is at Bruise Brothers in Vista, California. And the first race of the SoCal MX Classic, round 1, happens at Verona Oaks on June 14th. All right. Zor Moto Park up there in New York State, September 25th. You've got plenty of time to make plans for that. There's a reunion, there's a ride, there is a vintage MX race as well. This one's coming up right away, May 10th. Yeah, right away. It's coming up this weekend, the spring swap meet. That's at Hultke's Cycle and Sales in Vassar, Michigan. That's happening this weekend. That's been going on for a long time, too. I think this is the 19th annual spring swap meet. And over there in Michigan, you got a good Midwest crowd there. You got a lot of off-road bikes, motocross bikes. And if you're into that snowmobile scene, probably some snowmobile stuff there as well, from what I have heard. Armors Mid-Atlantic regional list of races is out. They already got a couple of them in the books, and they run races all the way until October 24th. There's no reason why you can't get a race in the Mid-Atlantic region. In the meantime, if you want to show up at that race wearing a VMXQ&A t-shirt, we would love that very much. Yellow, black, gray, or white. We can make them in custom colors as well. $24.95, and that is shipping included. They come in small, medium, large, extra large, triple X, and yeah. Get them while they're hot, man. And we got the hats, too. And if you want to pay, you can pay for those through either Venmo or Zelle. Or if you'd like to see me get coffee money, you can send it to me at PayPal.
No.
Susie says, no, don't send me anything.
Right.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's up. And you know what? I've got some real interesting news on some cool stuff that's coming up in the future. Check this out. Coming later this month, we got Gordon McCaffrey is going to be on the show again, talking about magnesium welding and drain plug oil fix for a CR125. He showed me the picture of this. The drain plug was snapped clear off the cases. And where do you see this repair? Mark LaRue, as I mentioned earlier, with the Hangtown book. Jeff Conboy, not Cowboy, will be here with the Bultaco book and the long-awaited return of Ted Boyko in the expansion chamber. I've been on the phone with Ted. He will be back as well, making some great videos and telling us some really, really great stories. One more commercial break. We're going to hear from ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. Then we will be back to wrap up Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Hi, I'm Paul Parkinson with Replica Motorcycle Parts. I'm sitting here with our test bike, which is ridden by Jerry Maddox. carries the #1 plate in the U.S. Let's go over a couple of the parts that we've got on here. We've got our ignition cover with the case saver built into it, so that when the chain comes off, you're not damaging your cases. Spacer, foot pegs. Jerry runs our air box. Seat brackets, keeps the seat on tight so he doesn't fall off when he's going over the whoops. And then this side, Jerry runs a couple little things, a lot of little rubber parts on the bike, and that stuff are all done by us. And then down here we've got our brake pedal, which has got needle bearings in there, and then it's got a wider toe peg, so it gives them a real nice, clean, easy to use brake. And then this is our latest part. This is a CR250 type knuckle. In fact, Honda used them on the last versions of the MR175, and this is a real trick aluminum Kickstarter arm. So that gives them lightweight, strength, and reliability more than anything else. Reliability.
All right. ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com has the silencer that everybody is looking for, at least anybody who owns a 73, 74, CR125 or 250. They are just $595. And believe me, that's a bargain if you've ever looked for a pickle silencer for one of those old Hondas. This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X. Be sure to visit them online at racerx.com. Today in Motocross History, May 6th, Cherokee MX Park in Opelousas, Louisiana. Where's Jimmy Weiner? Here he is. Jimmy Weiner gave Kawasaki its first ever 250 national win, followed by Suzuki-mounted Rich Thorwaldson, Yamaha-mounted Barry Higgins, and Honda's Dwayne Jones. Also, in 1973 in Switzerland, Hakan Andersson continued to pull away in the 250cc World Championship standings. The Swedish rider was aboard the prototype Yamaha monoshock motorcycle that would usher in the single-shock era of motocross. Andersson swept both motos, followed by German Maiko rider Adolf Wheel, U.S. rider Jim Pomeroy, riding a Bultaco, finished 6th overall that day. In 1989, at the Meadowlands, Supercross goes to Jeff Stanton in the 250 class, and Damon Bradshaw topped the 125 class. Honda's Stanton topped Mickey Diamond's career best second in Supercross on his Yamaha, as well as Suzuki's Johnny O'Mara coming in third. Yamaha's Bradshaw would better Honda's Mike Kudrowski and Suzuki's Denny Stevenson. And I think that was the first Supercross at the Meadowlands. It was 1989. And I don't think there was another one there until I think 12 years ago. 12 years ago was the one after that. I attended that one as well. I did not make the one in 1989. Okay. That wraps it up for this week's Vintage Motocross Q&A. I want to thank everyone for viewing the show tonight. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please support all of our sponsors. And come on, Gino. Okay. Oh, wow. I didn't even have to lower the chair. So that's it for me and the Gino Monster. We will see you all next week on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thanks for watching. Wait. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I forgot a video, and I am so sorry. I forgot the Roy video. I'm going to play it right now. In the next time, try this segment. Roy Vanderveer. I apologize, Roy. I didn't have it queued. And we're going to watch it right now. Roy, sorry about that, brother.
Hello, everybody. I'm Roy Vanderveer, and welcome to my two-stroke pro shop. Today, I'm doing a master class on sprocket fasteners. This is a critically important and often overlooked topic, so we're going to run down all the variables of all the things you should be doing when you're fastening a new sprocket to your hub. So while we're at the beginning here with a beautifully rebuilt KX500 wheel, let's talk about some of the things that lead to motocross rear hub failures. They can range from cracked or sheared hubs to bearing and bushing wear, and are often linked to bolt looseness, misalignment, or material fatigue. The most common cause is loose or worn sprocket bolts.
These things do not last forever. No fastener does. Most of us are playing in the vintage game, and those fasteners are of an unknown age when you get them, and they absolutely should be replaced as soon as reasonably possible. If you're getting new sprockets, you can plan on getting new bolts to go along with them. Over time, bolt holes in the hub can oval out, allowing bolts to back off and lose tension. This is especially common if old hardware is reused or if the bolts are torqued incorrectly. As we look around the scene I have here in front of us, things that you're going to need to swap this sprocket out are a fresh set of bolts, some blue Loctite, and a torque. You want to make sure to have these things on hand before you even start. Now, if you're working with new fasteners, such as these or these, not those, and not those, come with thread lock already. If thread lock is already on there, you do not need to add more. As a matter of fact, it would be detrimental to add more lock to this. If you're working with an OEM fastener such as this, you absolutely will need that blue medium strength Loctite. Now, these kits are all considered hub savers, and Bolt has copyrighted that, and they go by hub savers double locked. And the way they are double locked is they come with the thread locker already on the threads, and they come with a Fuji lock nut, which is a mechanical locking nut. In short, a Fuji lock nut works by using a deformed metal ring to create a spring-type frictional torque against the threads, locking the nut in place and preventing loosening without extra parts or machining. Let's take a minute to talk about these different kits and some of the problems you may run into over a wide array of applications. If you need 8x25s or 8x20s or 8x25s, they're pretty readily available. And that's what most of the modern bikes use. And when I say modern, we're probably talking from about 1990 on up. But when you get back before that, they used 8x30s. Now, our friends at Bike Master made a set of 8x28s. And you would think, oh, well, that's close enough. Well, not necessarily, because if you're using Fuji lock nuts or even nylock nuts, that bolt has to be long enough to make it out onto the Fuji lock portion of the nut. Now, I've tried to use that Bike Master set along with the nylock nuts that are included. And what they did to help make up for the difference was they just deleted the washer. So that's not good. And even with the washer deleted, the threads on that 28 millimeter long bolt just don't quite make it to the Fuji lock or the nylock part of the nut. Therefore, it's not working. And for that reason, for those older applications that require an 8x30, these 8x28s don't get it done. So for those reasons, we've removed Bike Master from the table. If you need an 8x25, you'd be okay. But if you need 8x30, we've got to get the real thing. So let me show you where you can get an 8x30 sprocket bolt. So here's where we get into some pro tips. I really appreciate our friends at Suzuki, because if we look at numbers 16, 17, and 18, they still supply and 8x30. And it doesn't matter if you use it in a Yamaha or a Kawasaki or a Honda. If it needs to be 8x30, this is where you can get it. Now, if you do all three parts, the screw, the washer, and the nut, you're looking at a $50 sprocket bolt set, whereas our aftermarket counterparts are about $25. Now, all of our aftermarket kits either use no washer or they use a flat washer. Either one of those options is okay. I prefer there to be a washer, but sometimes just using a flange nut is all right. I should say you can go with no washer so long as it's a flange nut. But our friends at Suzuki spec a conical washer, and we need to spend some time talking about this conical washer because we're leaving no stone unturned, and every pro tip is going to be discussed because this is all insurance. It's insurance to make sure that you don't end up with a broken hub and a really bad day and a big repair bill. So let's come back and talk about conical washers, why they're here, what they're for, and how they can help. So why use a cone washer? A cone washer, also known as a conical washer, is a spring-type washer with a conical shape that provides controlled spring tension, vibration damping, and load distribution in fastened joints. Because we're dealing with expensive and often irreplaceable wheel hubs, I think it's a really good idea to use a conical washer whenever you can. Now, if you source that washer through Suzuki, as I've done, you're looking at $20 worth of washers, which effectively puts our sprocket bolt kit through Suzuki up to $49.44. Now, being value conscious, as we all should be, because we're all going to spend all the money on our bikes either way, we just want it to go as far as we can. You can source some 8mm conical washers through eBay, and for a set of 10 is $3.64. So to help the team budget last a little longer, I might go this route next time once I've used up all the $3 washers that I have. So the main reasons to use a cone washer: number one, it maintains bolt tension under stress. 2, it dampens vibration. 3, it handles thermal expansion and contraction. 4, it distributes loads evenly. And 5, it accommodates for uneven surfaces, which with our old bikes, you never know exactly what you've got. And then number 6, it provides space efficiency. Compared to flat washers, cone washers provide a high load capacity in a compact form, making them suitable for tight spaces. So there's actually a lot more, but let's just say if we were going to, let's say we're going to wrap it up real quick. So wrapping up the topic of conical washers, if you want secure, reliable fastenings that stand up to vibration, heat, and shifting loads, conical washers are your best friend. They might be small, they might be simple looking, but their impact on durability and safety is huge. Next time you design or maintain mechanical assemblies, don't overlook these unsung heroes. Use the tips I shared here to pick and install and maintain the correct conical washer for your application right here. When ordering conical washers, if you do it through Suzuki, the homework's already done. If you're going to do it through eBay, and I don't blame you, make sure you pay attention and get the right dimensions to suit your application. So far, our insurance policy consists of new fasteners, Loctite, conical washers, Fuji lock nuts, a torque wrench. But wait, there's one more. Okay, for what I believe is our 6th and final pro tip in this sprocket fastener masterclass. What we want to do before we put the fasteners in, first we need some Loctite on the threads. Then we want to put some Loctite on the bevel of the head. And what this drop of Loctite will do is give us a chance that if that nut comes loose, that thread lock will help retain the sprocket or the bolt in the hole glued up against the sprocket. It's a little bit of a Hail Mary, but with the consequences being as significant as they are, every little tip helps. So if you follow all of these instructions, I cannot imagine a world in which you're going to have a sprocket fastener failure that will take out your hub, your sprocket, your swing arm, potentially put you on the ground and have a bad day. So follow these tips and have a great moto day. And I'm going to assume that everybody knows how a torque wrench works and which way to turn a bolt. So I'm going to do that stuff all off camera. And then when it's all done, we'll just take a quick picture and that'll be a wrap. And here we have everything all torqued up and put together. And looking terrific with fresh nuts and bolts along with our fresh sprocket. Since we're talking about wheel maintenance and you've made it all the way to the end of the video, I appreciate you staying in there. Let's talk about axles and axle grease. Axle grease is for covered wagons. It's not for motocross bikes. All you need is a light lubricant to prevent corrosion on the axle. This way, when you put your axle in, it'll slide right in. And when you need to pull the wheel, potentially at the racetrack or when you're out trail riding, the axle will come right out. If this thing is all caked up with grease, first, it's going to attract dirt to stick to everything. Second, it creates a vacuum, which sometimes requires a hammer and a drift to get the axle to slide out from the bearings and the center spacer that's located in between. So when you're in your race shop, make sure that your axle, it's no problem. Easy peasy. No grease on motorcycle axles. You can grease the bearings. You can grease the axle in your covered wagon. Grease does not go here on the axle. Till next time.
Thank you, Roy. Nobody sweats the details like you, and that was a nice touch putting up Furco's picture at the end. That is it for this week's Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll see you next time.